Okay, y'all. So I have some things that I need to do this morning, but I see I'm gonna have to push some stuff back again that I need to do for myself in order for me to expose a lot of these people that's involved with trying to murder my child in my womb. First of all, let me just say that these chemicals, they are still launching planes. When I was on my way back into the house, they launched another one, and they are launching them all over, leaving trails of chemicals around. And I'm laying down in the bed now. Somebody knocking at the door. I'm not going to answer because it's not for me. um, I know that these black people around here, so it's a possibility that people know what they are doing or trying to do to me around here, because everybody is acting normal, watching them releasing trails all in the sky. I'm in here laying down in the bed, or if I get up and go somewhere or do something for myself, they launching chemicals all in the sky, and everybody is acting nonchalant. And people have tried to start altercations and things like that, but that's, I'm not even really too much concerned about the black people around, whether or not they know or not, because they really don't really have any control over what white America does to citizens. But let me just go back into details about what God said it was my apartment. So this is part two of it was my apartment. Okay, so God said that was her apartment to Cynthia Olvera. While I was in the jail, in the back of the jail, they were trying to murder me and my baby in a jail cell, denying my pregnancy, and trying to poison my trays and my commissary and everything. And I lost 50 pounds back there. They had inmates trying to come into my cell to try to murder me, male inmates and correctional guards trying to come into my cell to try to murder me. And then they were lying about the 911 calls and the evidence that they had that this young white male, my child's father, was abusing me when I hurt him. So God was like, when I was back there, God said to Cynthia Olvera in the spirit, that was her apartment. That was her apartment. And Austin gonna learn a lot of lessons in jail for abusing women. They was out there back there trying to say that I was mentally insane and violent, and that I had hurt this white male for nothing. Then they tried to lie and say that my baby daddy was black, trying to cover up the racism that they had going on, because a white male was the one who was guilty of hurting a pregnant black woman. So they was trying to kill me, the pregnant black woman, in the jail cell, and then trying to give him rank in this racist satanic Illuminati, and trying to make him look like the victim. So I explained to y'all a little bit about litigation abuse is when they try to force the victim, me and my son, the victims, to have contact with the abuser. That's illegal. They knew that it was illegal. They knew that they would drop the charges on me if they did not successfully murder me in the cell. So they decided that they were going to stage a custody hearing while I was incarcerated. So Cynthia Olvera went into family courtroom, Judge Tracy Gilbert's family courtroom, and I was still incarcerated. They brought me in there skinny, pregnant, with chains around my belly, and chains, shackles on my feet, with my clothes falling off of me, into Judge Tracy Gilbert's courtroom. And these white women handed me some paperwork and asked me to write down all of my income. I had been incarcerated for maybe like 6, 7, 8 months, and they was asking me, how much money do you make, and how much income do you have, and asking me to write my income, and I didn't have any income. And then Cynthia Olvera and Austin John Metter was in the courtroom, and they were trying to lie. They were lying about what took place. And Cynthia had got Austin a lawyer, and this white lawyer was having Austin lie in family court and try to say that that was his apartment too. Now, this is very deceitful, because I already explained to y'all, and it was my apartment part one, that Cynthia Olvera begged me to call the police department to try to have Austin theft charge and drug charge dropped while he was still incarcerated. So I was living in the house in my apartment with my son, taking care of my son. And I told Cynthia Vera that I wasn't sure if I wanted to allow Austin to come back in my home. And I went up to the prison and I told Austin that I wasn't sure if I could let him back in my home because I had our little son in the home and he couldn't be in there abusing us. And Austin was promising that he wouldn't be violent with us again. And Cynthia was crying and asking me to help him get those 2 charges dropped to get time served and let him come back to my home. So, like I said, within the first week of him being released out of prison, he got released July 10th or July 7th, 2018. He came back into my apartment, and within a week, he was abusing me in the home. And within like a few weeks, he was abusing my son. And I was calling the police. I already explained that. And he was fleeing from the police to Cynthia's house, and she was trying to help cover up the fact that he was abusing me in my home. So now when they had me incarcerated after he ran me out of my home and attacked me and my son in a restaurant where we had someone helping us try to call 911. The witness was helping us involved in the struggle. They did not put that on the police report. They completely falsified the police report and said that Austin had not attacked us. There was a witness that was helping us while he was attacking us that worked at the restaurant, and he was managing the restaurant. And he had called 911 and wrote a statement and told the truth. But the police officer, D. Strider, still wrote down falsified information on the police report. And then they took me in the jail and tried to murder me. So Cynthia O'Vera and Austin was now in this family courtroom with Judge Tracy Gilbert. And this was rigged because Judge Tracy Gilbert was not the judge over my criminal charges. Patty Maginnis, a white woman named Patty Maginnis, was the judge over my criminal charges. And my lawyer, Inger Chandler, kept telling Patty Maginnis that she did not have the evidence. And they kept putting me back in the jail and resetting the court dates and trying to murder me in the cell while I was waiting for my next court date. Starving me, poisoning me, and trying to come into the cell and murder me. And also doing witchcraft and rituals. And Inger Chandler had an investigator on the case named Jim McDougal. He was a sheriff for the Conroe Police Department, and he found out the truth. He went and interviewed the witness at the restaurant where the shooting took place because they were telling him that he could not access the witness statement that the witness had wrote. They said they were sealing up the witness statements, and then they had the falsified police report for him to access, but they would not allow him to access the witness reports. They only put falsified witness reports of people that was not in the restaurant when the altercation was happening. They had falsified witness reports that they were allowing to be used, but then the real witness report they sealed up and said that he could not open it. So the investigator Jim McDougal went to the restaurant Baytown Seafood in Conroe, Texas, and he interviewed the witness, and he came and met me I think January 24th before my February court date, which was 2019, and he was shaking, and he said this is the fault of the Conroe Police Department, and there was a Conroe sergeant behind the door that was trying to intimidate him. He was like, this is the fault of the police department, and this probably won't have to go to trial. And he was shaking because he knew that they had done things to cover up the truth, and that he went and found out the real truth. And I think once he really seen what the real truth was and how far they went to cover it up, he was kind of shaken about what was he supposed to do with the information. I had a vision from God that something could happen to Jim McDougal because he knows the real evidence, and that he did not turn it in when he had the chance. It was something about Jim McDougal's life being in danger along with mine, from black gang members that was involved, and from these white people that are trying to cover up the truth, because he knows the truth about my case and my pregnancy. And God was showing that I would have to pray for him because he did not turn over the evidence when he had the chance, that he was supposed to turn the evidence over to somebody who could have put a stop to this before it went this far. So Patty Maginnis was the judge over the criminal charges, and I was still incarcerated on these charges, and they had set a trial date. Now, a white man came up to the jail and tried to, they called me, he tried to get me to sign my rights away to my son, to Austin Metter, and I said no. Austin is a danger to my son. I don't want my son around the man who was attacking me and my child. I'm not signing my rights over to a prisoner, a man that just got out of prison, attacking my baby and attacking me, and then you think I'm going to sign my rights away over to him. So I fought them in this custody courtroom, in Judge Tracy courtroom. I cross-examined Austin and Cynthia, and I won the case. But Judge Tracy Gilbert said because I was still incarcerated on the criminal charges that he could not give me my son. He said once I got out, come to him with the evidence, and that he would give me my son. And so when I went in this courtroom, when I cross-examined Austin and Cynthia, before I did, Austin's lawyer cross-examined Austin, and he had Austin lie and say that it was his apartment too, and they had set it up to make it look like Austin had a good job and that he was working. He was like a working dad and a working husband, and we both shared the apartment. My name was on that lease. It was my apartment. It was not Austin's apartment. Austin was abusing me in my apartment, and he had just got out of prison for assault, and he was abusing me and my son in my home. So they set it up in the custody court hearing to make it look like I shot him for no reason, and that he was not being violent with me or my son. I cross-examined Austin, and I asked him how many charges did he have. Did he have a previous charge for assaulting me? Because he lied in the courtroom and said he had never put his hands on me in his life. And I got him to admit that he was charged in December 2015 for abusing me, and he was arrested and incarcerated on assault, family violence, and I was issued a temporary protective order that caught him in a lie. Then Cynthia O'Vera tried to lie and say that I was a bad mother, and I cross-examined her, and I asked her, was I a bad mother? And she said that I was a great mother. But then I asked her, had she had to call 911 on Austin before in her home? And she said yes, that she had to call him several times, and she also had a 2-year protective order from Austin Metter from keeping him off of her property because he was abusing her in her home. And Judge Tracy Gilbert, it's a man, a white man, he said, oh, so Cynthia, you're up in here trying to vouch for Austin against his baby's mother, and he was abusing you as well? And he got upset and told her to go sit down. And her and Austin tried to stop answering my questions. And Judge Tracy Gilbert said that they needed to answer my questions because my lawyer, Inga Chandler, only represented me for the criminal charges, and I never went to trial for that. But then in the family courtroom, I told her that they were trying to take my son from me, and everybody knew that I was not guilty for protecting myself and my son. And she said that she could not represent me in criminal court, so I mean in family court, so I had to represent myself in family court, and I won. I asked the Judge Tracy Gilbert if they could appoint me a lawyer for family court, and they said they couldn't do that, so I had to represent myself, and I won. But because I was still incarcerated, they kept me in there longer past the child custody original hearing. Austin ended up getting temporary custody of my son, and he had got incarcerated when Judge Tracy signed the order. So a white man tried to come up to the jail and say that I needed to sign the order to give him temporary custody while I was incarcerated. And I said I'm not doing that because he is a danger to my child, and I'm not signing over my rights to him. They brought me back into Judge Tracy courtroom, and he started yelling at me, asking me why I didn't sign the order. I said because I don't agree with the order. Austin is a danger to my child, and I'm not signing my rights of my child to him. He does not need to have even temporary custody of my child. And Judge Tracy Gilbert got mad and said, well, I'm signing it. And he signed the order, but Austin did not show up to court that day. His lawyer showed up to court, and Cynthia showed up to court. But God had already told me on the first custody hearing, it was a few of them that Austin didn't show up to, and God said it was because he was on drugs and he was too sick to come. So his lawyer and Cynthia, his adopted mother, Caucasian mother, and my baby daddy is Caucasian too, they came to represent him while he was sick at home on drugs. And so the lawyer did say he was sick, but he did not tell the judge that he was sick because of drugs. And so they signed over temporary custody of my son to Austin Metter, and he did not show up that day. Austin was incarcerated. He was in jail, and his lawyer did not tell Judge Tracy Gilbert that Austin was in jail the day that he signed the order. So he already said that Austin could have temporary custody, but they had not drawn up the order yet. They drawed up the order a week later and wanted me to sign my rights over away, and I said no. Then they brought me back into a courtroom and tried to get me to sign my rights away, and I said no, and Judge Tracy Gilbert signed the order. So now Austin was in jail. But I didn't know that he was in jail. I got a letter while I was in jail with Cynthia O'Vera filing to get temporary custody of my son from Austin and bringing me back into family courtroom now. And they asked me, do you mind if Cynthia O'Vera keeps your son until you get out? I didn't want him going into foster care. God already told me I was finna get out on the charges and I'm out. So I figured I'd just come pick my baby up from Cynthia's house when I get out. So they rigged it so that to say that I would have to go up against Cynthia O'Vera when I got out of the jail to fight against her in court to see if she can get custody of my son from me. That's where God came in, because God was like, hold on, that was Andrea apartment. It was not Austin apartment. You know he was abusing her and her son in her house. You know he was abusing them. And you over here trying to take her baby from her. And trying to go up against her in court. And that's why they was asking for my income, because they was trying to switch it around to make it look like, oh, Andrea don't have the income. I have showed y'all part 1 to part 10 of the evidence showing y'all me taking care of my son in my apartment. God said me and my baby qualify for HUD. I didn't even have that. So ain't no she can't take care of her son or she don't qualify for benefits to have a place for her and her baby. The only thing is to try to say that I was unfit. And I proved to everybody that I took great care of my son. My son never even got hurt in my care. You know, so Cynthia O'Vera got her a lawyer. And so now it was her and Austin lawyer against me. And Austin wasn't even showing up to court. So I came to court and Austin came to court in chains. They brought us both in chains. That's how I found out he got arrested. So Cynthia O'Vera was right there with her lawyer and Austin lawyer and Judge Tracy Gilbert. And I didn't have a lawyer. I already won the first custody hearing against Austin, but I was still incarcerated. They were still holding me on these charges, trying to kill me back there, knowing that I was with child. And they was trying to keep that off of the evidence in the family courtroom, that I was back there pregnant, that I'm pregnant. You over here trying to take my son from me, and I'm pregnant, and this white male is abusing me while I'm pregnant, and you're trying to take my baby from me because your son was abusing me and my baby boy. If you really even cared about your grandson, then you would tell the truth that your son was abusing me. So now let's get to the nitty gritty. Judge Tracy Gilbert wanted to know, why is Austin incarcerated, Cynthia? You said that you was gonna vouch that he take good care of his son while he had temporary custody of him. Why is he in jail? Cynthia didn't want to tell Judge Tracy Gilbert why Austin was back in jail again. And Judge Tracy Gilbert said, no, you better tell me. You gonna tell me. And she said, well, I caught some needles. He was stealing his daddy's needles, and he back on drugs again, methamphetamine, shooting up methamphetamine. That's a very aggressive drug. It make people very aggressive when they on that drug. He never did it around me. He always left the house and stole money to go and do it and come back and be abusing us. So Judge Tracy Gilbert said, but why is he in jail? She said, well, because he ripped off the door in my home. I told y'all I tried to get him to go and live with Cynthia O'Vera when he got out of prison because he was abusing me in my home, and I didn't want him there, but he refused to go and live with his parents. So after they done caused me to have to go to jail pregnant and caused me to have to hurt him and protect myself and my son, all of a sudden he go and lose my apartment. All of a sudden he goes and lives with his mama and his daddy. Cynthia says that, oh, he tore the door off. Now, this was, Judge Tracy Gilbert had already gave this man temporary custody of my child after I told him not to do that because he was a danger to my child. He completely want to overlook the evidence for some white people that show up with some lawyers. He should not even be over no child case. He should not. Ain't no you call CPS or try to get my child adopted. No, you need to be removed off of your bench because you should not have given my child to a man that has 8 charges, violent charges, drug charges, theft charges. The mother don't have nothing on her record but being charged for protecting herself and her baby. And you gonna give my baby to a man that just got out of jail for assault and was in there abusing me and the boy. Why would you do that? So Cynthia said he ripped the door off of the room in her home. This is her words. She said Austin ripped off the door. I took Halo, my son, Melbourne Halo. She said I took Halo. He was 2 at the time. She said I took Halo and ran in the bathroom, locked the door, and called 911. Why would you have to run in the bathroom and call 911 and lock the door with my baby in the room if your son was not a danger to nobody? If he was not a danger to me and my home, like you claim, if he was not a danger to my child to the point where I had to protect my child and ran from my home for safety, then why would you have to run your behind in your office or in the bathroom and call 911? If your son wasn't a danger to you and my child, why you hiding in the bathroom on the phone with 911 with the door locked? And what make it so bad, he ripped off the door. This is what she said. Then he ran in the room with a woman that she allowed. So not only do you got his baby mama in the back of the jail, y'all got his baby mama in the back of the jail pregnant, trying to murder her and cover up that he was abusing me. You got the audacity to let him bring another woman in your home? That's like a spit in my face. So she let him bring another woman in the home with my child to live while they back there trying to kill me and this baby. And she said that he ripped off the door and ran into the room and jumped on this other woman and was beating on this other woman. And she called the police on her own damn son for abusing this woman. And I think she was white. I'm not sure. And he was arrested. And he pled guilty to that. And had to do 6 months for that while I was still incarcerated on these charges. My lawyer said why I didn't know that he was in jail for this. Beating up another woman. And they up in there lying on me. Trying to murder me. Talking about he didn't hit me. Trying to take my baby from me in court and lying and saying he didn't hit me. And then he's up in her house. And just abusing another woman. And she calling 911 on him. And still back there trying to lie and keep my baby from me. And so Cynthia didn't really want to tell the truth. And I know because she was embarrassed. Because you doing all that shit because I'm black. Because his black baby mama protected herself from him. And y'all feel because I'm black, I don't have a right to protect myself. I'm supposed to be getting beat up and abused because I'm black, right? I'm supposed to sit down and let some white man beat up on my little mixed race little boy, right? Wrong. I ain't finna let nobody watch. I ain't finna sit back and watch nobody beat on my child. He was 22 months old. He wasn't even old enough to be getting punched on and knocked all over his head. That's why I ran out the house with him. And he still kept attacking us in the restaurant. And my lawyer was like, well, I didn't know about that. That's ridiculous. And Judge Tracy Gilbert said, Mom, did you know that he was arrested for abusing another woman? I said, no, I did not. I didn't know that. I didn't know they had another woman in the home over there with my son while I was back there fighting them charges. And I didn't know he was in there beating up on her too. So when I got out of jail, they set it up for everybody to keep me out on the streets. Family, racist ass people to try to keep me out on the streets, try to murder me, and then try to make me a prostitute, and then try to go in the courtroom and then try to say Andrea don't have no money, she don't have nowhere to go, don't give her back her baby. That's litigation abuse, and that's illegal. Because you're trying to make an outcome the way you want to make it instead of doing the right thing. Give me back my son. And that now they flying chemicals and all that shit over us. And they got black men following me all around. And God said that was my apartment. Ain't no it was Austin apartment too. No, it was not. Your son, Cynthia O'Vera, was abusing me and my son in my apartment. So you should be ashamed walking around with my baby. Trying to make it seem like your son is the victim. He ain't no victim. He going to jail. I have a right to press charges. They have the evidence that he was abusing me and my son. And I've been said since 2018 when I was calling the police when he got out of prison that I wanted to press charges. And since y'all still want to take it this far, I'm telling you, I have not changed my mind. I am pressing charges. He is going to jail. And you going to give me my baby alive. Ain't no threatening to hurt my baby because your son got hurt for abusing him. That is a grown man and my son is a child. Ain't no choice there. He is a child. And you done kept my son from me long enough. And every little thing that y'all keep on doing to me is making y'all look stupid. It's making y'all look real stupid. It was my apartment. And I got rights. He was abusing me in my apartment. He was abusing my son in my apartment. And I will fight this racism as far as I have to. I will fight it as long as I have to. It's racism. He was abusing me in my apartment. And he was abusing my son in my apartment. And I have rights. That's why I'm not in jail. So the only evil thing you white women think you can do is try to keep my baby from me. Well, now I have a lawsuit. And you better believe when I get me a good lawyer, I'm filing it. And you better hope your name don't go on it. Because you tampering with a federal investigation. Gunshot charges, that's a felony. That's federal court. So you don't withhold information. And you do not interfere with an investigation when the police is trying to figure out that a woman and a child is being abused in their home. You don't call the police and lie for your son that's a convicted felon. Because we needed to be protected. And the police could not do their job properly.